Amen. Amen. Hey, one more time, we get to spend some time together. And what I want to say to you is so important today that I want to be careful not to be unclear. And so if we can, I'd like to just kind of let you in on it, kind of drop it on you, and then we'll circle back around as we continue to think about this idea. I really have one purpose this morning, and that is to encourage you to let your life be determined by eternity. Or put differently, to let your dash be defined by the line. That's what we're going to be talking about this morning. And the question that I want to pose to you, the question I want you to think about is a little bit of an uncomfortable question, but it's an important one nonetheless. And it is the question, how do you know your life is not being wasted? Like, how do you know you're not wasting the one life you get? Like, if you think about how at the end of the day we often say, how was your day? Like, maybe still, even though you're in high school, maybe you go home and your mom or your dad asks you, how was your day? And I don't know, maybe depending on your personality or what happened that day, your answer might be really long, your answer might be really short, but what are they doing? What are we doing when we do that? We're asking you to kind of look back on your day at school and evaluate how it went, and there will come a moment when we do that with our life. When we get to the end and we look back on our life and we say, like, how was my life? Was it well spent? Was it wasted? This reminds me of, I don't know if you guys would have seen this, it may be a little bit too long ago, but there was this meme years ago that was all over the place, and it was this idea of live your dash. And it was this image of a tombstone, because at the end of the day, like whether literally or figuratively, all that's left of the memory of you is this tombstone. And all that's going to be on there is a name and maybe some saying at the bottom, but then there's these two dates, the year of your birth and the year of your death. And then in between there's this dash, and this dash represents your entire life. And the idea was, man, you just get one of these. And so you want to live it well, like you don't want to waste this. And this is something I've been thinking about a lot. I mean, I think about this all the time, and it's been on my mind recently because I heard this story about this young couple. Maybe you've seen this picture, or maybe you heard their story in the news. They're actually from not too far from here, and here's a picture of them. Their names are David and Natalie Lloyd, or Davy and Natalie Lloyd, and they're 23, 21 years old. And well, Davy was born not too far from here, down in Oklahoma. Some of y'all are from Oklahoma, and he was a good kid, man. He's raised in a Christian family, and his family was very involved in missions all over the world. And his dream since he was a child was to be a missionary to Haiti. That's what he wanted to do. I don't know what you wanted to do when you were little or what you want to do now. Like, you get to ask that question, like, what do you want to be when you were growing up, And when I was young, I wanted to be a professional athlete. And then I told you that dream fell apart. And then it was like, well, for a while there, it's like, I want to own my own company. I want to own my own telecommunications company and take over the world, And then when I was 16 years old, I had a radical shift because I really sensed that the Lord was very specifically calling me to a life of ministry. And that's my journey. But this kid, Davey, man, he knew from the time he was little, like, what do you want to do? I want to be a missionary to Haiti. That's what he would always say. And so he grew up in the Lord, and he went off to college, and he met this girl, Natalie, and he was like, I don't know if this is going to work because I want to go to Haiti. And then they went on a trip down there, and she loved it just as much as him. And so it became this calling. And a couple years ago, in June of 2022, they got married, and then they've been preparing to go be missionaries to Haiti. They've been raising support and letting people know their dreams, and they actually moved over there in January to start ministering to these Haitian people and to tell them about the good news of Jesus' love and grace and power. And they've been building some relationships, but just a little over a week ago, they were walking out of church, and some gangs in the area shot them and killed them and then burned their bodies just to solidify the point. And I think about this story, and it's like, what do we make of this, And it's like, is this a tragedy? Yeah, yes, absolutely. Like, I don't care who you are, you can see that this is tragic. Even a person who doesn't believe in Jesus, even a person who has no conception of eternity or thinks this life is all there is going to look at this and say, man, that is tragic. But the better question is, or the different question is this a waste? And that's a harder question because it depends on how you're looking at it. It depends on your perspective. Like, if you're evaluating their lives from the standpoint of right now, if all you're looking at is the moment, then it kind of seems like a waste. It kind of seems like a failure, certainly not a success. But if you're evaluating their lives in light of eternity, then you have a different answer to the question. And that's how you got to think about your life, right? Like, this is the point. Like, you've got this one life, and if you picture a timeline, so you've got sort of the beginning of time, and then it just goes on forever. Your life is somewhere on that timeline, and what's funny is it's almost impossible to put this to scale because literally forever, like, never stops. And if this is the timeline of history from the beginning all through eternity, man, we got a little dot on there. And that dot is your dash, but even that dot is way too big. Because compared to eternity, your years on this earth are a mist that appears for a while and vanishes. That's how the Bible describes it. And you got to decide if you're going to live your dash for the dot or if you're going to live your dash for the line. Like, that's the question. And today what we're doing is we're kind of turning our attention to what happens when you go home. And the word of the day is pace. And the idea is that over today, you're kind of going to form a plan. And you'll do this later on in your groups. You're going to make a plan for how you're going to organize your life. And your plan's going to have a certain pace. And what you got to remember from the start is that your pace is determined by your race. Like, how fast you're going is determined by how long you got to go. Right? If you're sprinting, then you're booking it. If this is a 40-yard dash, then you're dashing. You're moving as quickly as you can. But if this is a marathon, no, you got to find that rhythm. You can't just put all into it for a short bit of time because you'll run out of gas. Again, the rhythm of your pace is defined by the length of the race, and that's what we got to keep in mind today as we one more time open up to Psalm 23. We're going to look today at verses 5 and 6 specifically, but once again, I really want you to make sure and take in the whole thing, all of Psalm 23. It is a psalm of David, and you know how it goes. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That's Psalm 23. Now, what I love about this and what you have to remember about this is it's a poem, which means it's been constructed in really intentional ways to communicate a lot of truth. And some of it you just see when you look at it. But others of it, you just kind of keep reading. And the more you look, the more you see. Because there's subtle points that are being made all throughout. Let me give you an example of what I mean. You can't really see this as well in the English, but in the original language of Hebrew, the poem is 20 lines long. And the 10th line is, for you are with me. And the 20th line is, I will dwell in your house forever. When we tell you that this psalm is about the with God life, we're not making it up. Like, the whole structure of the thing is designed to say that you can have a life with God. And there's another feature of the structure that I just love so much, and it has to do with how it starts and how it ends. I don't know if you noticed this, but the Lord is mentioned twice at the beginning and the end. And not just kind of generally at the beginning and the end, but in a really specific way. So in the original, the title of the psalm, a psalm of David, is actually part of the psalm. And in the Hebrew, it's two words. Psalm and then of David is one word. So it's Psalm of David and then Lord is my shepherd. So Lord or Yahweh is the third word in the poem. And the author of the poem, David, wants to make sure that you get that, like, the Lord is bracketing either side. So it comes down to the end and this phrase, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And in the Hebrew, it's Lord, and then it's a two-word phrase, unto length of days. So literally, it's like very intentionally, Lord is the third word and the third to last word. And the point is that God is the beginning and end of the poem. And it's not just about the poem, it's that the poem is a microcosm of reality. Like, this is a picture of the world. That God is the beginning and the end. God is the Alpha and Omega of the universe. God is the center and circumference of the whole thing. God is the bounded edges and fills the entire middle. It's all about him. And this picture is not just a picture. It's not just a statement about the universe. It's an invitation for you to make your life match the poem. It's an invitation for you to align your life with reality. Like, if you want to live the with God life, then you make God your beginning and your end. You make God the Alpha and Omega, the center and circumference of all things, the bounded edges and filling the entire middle. Like, if you want this, then everything in your life is about God. And this is such a critical thing to keep in mind as you think about making your plans, because your plan is going to be based on your priorities. Like, you have an ordered list of priorities that tells you what to do. You have a hierarchy of values that drives your life. Certain things are more important than other things, to you, to me, to everybody. And I wonder what's toward the top of your list at this point in your life. I would imagine that for many of you, there's some activities, some things that you're involved in. Maybe it's sports for you. Maybe it's soccer or football or baseball or basketball or volleyball or whatever it may be. And you just love sports. You're good at it. You love the exercise. You love being part of a team. And this is a big part of your life right now. And for others, maybe it's not sports, maybe it's the arts, maybe you sing like an angel. And maybe when you sing, the rest of us just stop doing anything else because our ears are so drawn to the beauty of your voice that we can't even think about anything else. Maybe that's you. Or maybe you're into theater or show choir and you love to tell stories or draw pictures. I don't know what you're into. And maybe it's not so much that. Maybe it's like a future dream. You have this dream of having a certain kind of family, or this dream of having a career, maybe as an engineer or a teacher or a doctor or a veterinarian, whatever it is. I'd probably guess that for others, it's maybe something a little bit less concrete. Like at the top of your hierarchy of values is just like comfort. You just want to be comfortable, or pleasure. You just want pleasure, or success, or image. Man, that's what it was for me. Like everything else was oriented for me when I was you, was toward this, like you gotta look good. You gotta sort of keep up this image. I don't know what's toward the top of your list. And I'm not even saying all of it's bad. Like some of it's probably dumb, but others of it is good. But the question you have to ask is, how is this related to God? And if you want a with God life, then God is at the top of the list. But that's where it gets a little complicated, right? Because it's not like you can just be like, all right, here's my list. Number 1, God. And then number 2, like whatever else. It's not like, well, I'm going to do the God thing first, and then I'm going to do the school thing or the family thing or the sports thing or the career thing. Now, it doesn't really work as a list. Because then you're going to become one of those people who does the God thing on Sunday and then the me thing the rest of the week. And that's not the kind of life that Psalm 23 offers us. That's not the kind of life we want. That's not the kind of life that's presented to us. And so it's not that easy, man. I remember one time I heard somebody who said, you know, it's not that God is the first item on your list of priorities. It's that God is the paper on which you're writing and the pen with which you write. And I remember thinking like, man, I guess that's cool, but I don't really even know what the heck that means. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's like God himself, and then God, therefore, family. God, therefore, school. I don't know, but the point is, however you're going to frame that out, and you're going to do this with your friends and with your leaders, you got to decide whether or not God's going to be at the top of your list, whether you're going to organize your entire life around him. And if you're an honest person, then at some point in your life, maybe in the past, maybe now, maybe in the future, if you're honest with yourself, at some point you're going to ask, why? Like, why should I give up on the pleasures of the moment for God? Like, I can't even see him, and he doesn't do all the things that I think he should do. So maybe you're asking that question, why should you trust God? It's a good question. And I think it's a question that the psalm knows you're going to ask, because that's where verses 5 and 6 come in. They give us 2 answers to the question, why should we center our life on God? Answer number 1, because God is better. That's verse 5. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life. Let's break this down. We know we're talking about God, but we're talking about him in some unique ways. And we're describing him as goodness. Like, what is goodness? Well, it's like goodness. It's like quality, right? And it's the things that you look at and say, that's good. Whether it's a food that you eat or something that you envision. And what the psalm is saying, what God is saying is that God is the essence of all goodness. So like all the good things that you know, trace back to him. Every good flavor you've ever tasted, whether it's chocolate or ice cream or steak or I don't know what you love, but it all points back to him. Every beautiful thing you've ever seen with your eyes, whether it's a sunset or a mountain or a painting or a person, maybe it's a man or a woman or a mother with a child or these cute old grandparents who just love each other so much, and all of these things that you see are actually pointing you to him. All the impressive feats that we notice, the beautiful songs that we hear, whenever Caitlin or Steph hits a 3, all of these impressive things, all of this quality traces back to God. He's the essence of goodness. So goodness is the word here, but it's not the only word. And the other word is, well, it's kind of tricky because it says goodness and love, right? But if you look at other translations, you're going to get a different word every time. Goodness and mercy, goodness and loving kindness. And the reason is because it's not the normal word for love. It's this weird word, chesed is the word in Hebrew. You got to make this funky sound in the back of your throat to say it. And chesed is hard to define. Because it's like a love like no other love. It's God's covenant love. It's a loyal love that never leaves you. And it's a love that's so perfect, it's impossible to put into words. And so why would you center your life on God? Because God is better, because we're talking about the essence of all goodness and a love that is so good you can't even put it into words. And it's not that it just exists out there, don't miss this. It's that it's right around you, so surely your goodness and love will follow me. Bad translation. No, actually the word is stronger than follow. It's the word pursue. Surely your goodness and love will pursue me. God is coming after you, not in a bad way. He's pursuing you with goodness and love.
And so notice the movement of God in the poem. At the beginning, he's out in front leading, and then in the middle, he's beside us, walking with us, and then in the end here, he's behind us, cheering us on and pursuing us. And the point is not that God moves. God doesn't move because he's not bound by space. The point is, any direction you look, you see him. So we're talking about living a life that's surrounded by the essence of all goodness and a love that is so perfect you can't even put it into words. I don't know if it gets any better than that. I got a lot of things in my life too, but none of them are quite as good as that. So because God is better, that's the first reason. But the second reason is in verse 6, because eternity is coming. And I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That's the word, forever. Not just for a little while, not just for a long time, forever, for length of days, days on end, unending, forever, eternity. There's 3 statements about you in the psalm. Three sentences with you as the subject, with I right in there. I shall not fear. I shall lack nothing. I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And you've got this choice, you've got this same choice where you can base your life on the moment, like you can just live for right now, and you can organize your life around the pursuit of immediate gratification, and it will be nice for a while, I guess, or you can base your life on the pursuit of eternal perfection. Perfection. And I know, like, heaven is strange, and it's a weird thing to think about, and we don't know exactly what it will be like, but I can tell you that it will be perfect. It will be everything good about this world, even better, without everything bad. And the decision that you have to make as you define your pace and as you make your plans is where you're going to look to help you do this. Like, which one are you going to go with? And I confess to you that I think it's an easy decision. Like, I have no idea why you wouldn't choose eternity. Like, your life is a story, and no story makes sense from the middle. You're living in the middle of the story, and no story makes sense from the middle. You have to read to the end. You have to watch to the end. Like, nobody watches a great movie and you get like halfway through it and you're like, oh, I think I'm good. I think I get it. No, you don't. You have to watch till the end to understand the thing. And eternity is the end. You are a created being with an immortal soul that will live past this life to the next. And you got to somehow square with that. I don't know why you would make any other decision, because eternity is longer than time. But I know we wonder. And I want to be real with you. I know we doubt. I know we wonder if heaven is real, and I do too, because we live in a world that tells us we're crazy. We live in a world that tells us that the only thing that exists is what you can see. And this idea of heaven is a pipe dream. It's wish fulfillment. It's you just projecting your desires onto the cosmic screen. You just acting like this is true because you hope it's true, and I understand those feelings that we have. I understand that you wonder if these whispers of hope you hear from your heart are telling you the truth. You wonder if there really could be something better after this, something more, and I'm telling you there can and there is. Heaven is real and it's coming. Eternity is real and it's on the way. And the fool evaluates the moment in light of the moment. The fool plans the moment in light of right now. The wise person evaluates the moment in light of eternity. And may this be true of you. May you be wise. May you dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And may the pace of your life be determined by the rhythms of eternity. May your dash be defined by the line. Can I pray for you? I want to pray a blessing over you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and guide your pace and give you peace. In Jesus' name, amen. I love you guys. Finish strong.